The Evolution Security Podcast.
We're excited to be offering our 16-hour defensive pistol and combatives and weapons integration course in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the 19th and 20th of November, 2022. Defensive pistol is a course focusing on a fundamental defensive pistol platform from the holster, moving into dynamic shooting principles, along with a primer in close quarters firing solutions. You will leave this class having a solid concealed carry shooting platform and also, most importantly, how to practice. The Combatives and Weapons Integration class provides the client with a foundational understanding of self-protection techniques and tactics that can prepare you for dealing with and surviving a violent assault. This class has a foundation in wrestling and jiu-jitsu and is for any practitioner of any body type or age. Lastly, at the end of the day, there will be a light validation exercise, or in other words, a light force-on-force evolution with a blue gun or a training blade, providing confidence in the techniques learned. To sign up for this course or for more information, go to the Eventbrite link in the show notes or go to our website at evosec.org and look in current events.
Welcome, everybody, to the Evolution Security Podcast. I'm Aaron Davis, and my twin brother, Eric Davis, is on the line across the desk, virtual desk here. How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing well. I am a bit worn out. Excuse me.
Well, I think you're going to tell us a little bit about why you are a little worn out here in a little bit, because it's a good reason.
Excellent reason. Had a great time this weekend.
So, yeah, we figured we would just get on here and kind of do a chat session and do an update with what Eric's been doing and talk about some important things coming up. But, Eric, I guess we can jump right into one thing that I wanted to talk about. I mean, let's just jump right in. So, I posted something on social media about this, so I finally got my ATF Form 1 approved for my, I just put one shoulder device on for another one, and it became a regulated item, right? But, I was pretty dang stoked to run home and throw on a stock. I had the stock sitting in my safe for probably 5 or 6 years. Had this gun for probably 3 years now, 2 or 3 years. But now it's legit. No one's going to get on to me for shouldering it, right?
Yeah, well, it's amazing to me thinking through this is, for something that is still currently legal, we're being forced to do that. I don't want to get overly negative about it, but it's amazing to me that, we got individuals that believe they can legislate via the pen from the executive branch, which we know that's against Article 1 of the Constitution. So that is just plain a truism. What's unfortunate is now we have to deal with those battles in the court systems because individuals don't believe in the Constitution anymore. But anyway, all that said, man, it looks awesome, man. I mean, a legit rig.
I can't think of a better self-defense weapon than this for my house. I mean, I can't think of light, optic. It's going to be a loud mofo in the house, especially with that comp on it. Eventually, I'll put a can on it, but when it comes to size and form, and firepower, etc., and ease of use. This is as good as it gets.
Well, I mean, you can just simply, if you know what's going on and you need to grab it. Heck, I mean, you can have your ear pro, your Bluetooth ear pro next to your bed too. So try to mitigate some of that.
If I am grabbing this, I've got a little bit of time, right? Yep. I'm not running for this at any time that the worst day comes. If it seems like I've got a little bit of time, I'm going to run for this. And a lot of times I have it close to me. But I'm only going to have it when I have just a bit of time. But so Eric, that brings up an issue, right? That elections have consequences, and we have by the time this show airs, we will have the midterm election day, right? And it's just going to be a week away. And one thing of concern is the assault weapons ban. I believe it's HR 1808. And I'm not going to go deep into that stuff right now, but I did want to just mention that you and I are not ignorant and think that Republicans are perfect. But one thing is for sure, if someone out there thinks that they can vote for a Democrat because they like specific issues, especially in the Senate, let's be clear, in the Senate, they think they can vote for a Democrat and they are not going to vote exactly the way Chuck Schumer tells them to. So you vote for a Democrat, you are voting for one of Chuck Schumer's people to vote to pass that HR 1808 that's just waiting to be passed when they have the people. Just to urge people, get out and vote for a pro-Second Amendment politician, okay? It's that simple. So, and that leads to something that I wanted to talk about, and this is pretty fun, actually. Eric, I think I told you about it, and I shared it on social media. I don't think I shared it under EvoSec. I think I just shared it under my regular Facebook account. But there's a video that T.Rex Arms put out, and it's called "Why Everyone Needs an AR-15." It was released about a month ago, and it's already got 1.3 million views. It's an excellent video. And Eric, let's make sure we get that in the show notes for our listeners, if you don't mind.
I can do that.
So essentially, right, this is, I would describe it as this guy gives an excellent history of small arms and the parallel of civilians being involved, of course, in the technology that militaries then used and purchased from civilian designers, right?
Absolutely.
And I mean, the advancements in firearm technology came from the public sector. I don't want to give too much away because, again, this guy, I watched this video again today as I knew I wanted to talk about it. It is an excellent and entertaining video. I mean, it's hilarious. It's well articulated. He's got facts in there. Now, I will not try and attest to all the historical information about the specific firearms he mentions in there, but it sure looks to me and makes sense of the weapons that I know about in his lineup that he goes through, that he knows his stuff.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that. I mean, if anything, everything is close enough that, and again, I'm not saying any of it's incorrect. I'm saying that if people try to pick apart certain aspects of historical statements or what somebody is placing as a historical fact, sometimes can be disputed, but the overall premise of what he's laying out is all accurate.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the biggest point behind of what I got from it, it's been a minute since I've watched it, is that civilians were well ahead of the military, some time ago, and still yet today, to be frank. Heck, I mean, think about it. Dylan is who made the best improvements to the minigun.
Okay.
And so now the current miniguns, which is a Gatling gun 308 essentially, were made by Dylan, which is a reloading company.
That's what I was about to ask. So that's unfamiliar to me. That's cool.
Yeah, and just you can go down the list. There's all kinds of civilian improvements currently today, and I won't go too deep into this, but the industry I work in, the latest technologies come straight from the civilian sector, and the military.
So Eric, should you be able to have military grade radios and communications?
I should, and I actually do, for the most part.
I don't think you should. I don't think military grade CB radios should be in the hands of civilians.
And actually, some of the radios I have are better than military grade.
Well, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I did want to say, just watch this video for some of the hilarity of the debate on the House floor between the guy that introduced this bill. He is unbelievably ignorant of what he's trying to ban, and it is on display, and it is hilarious.
Yeah,
watch this video just for those parts. So, oh man, you just got to watch it. But I just want to. I want everybody that are listening to watch this for a great perspective that you may not have, and share this with open-minded friends and family, and especially people that are bought into the anti-AR-15 thing and that they're open-minded. Don't start a fight with people, but if you got someone that's open-minded and maybe can is open to learning something about this, and it might change their minds because it's such a good video. Now, I will say this. So essentially, he goes through this progression of small arms, and it's basically starting from a hand cannon. And he's got a real one there. It's a hand cannon, and it's crazy what people came up with in the beginning. Then on into the flintlock, of course, which we would expect. And then, for instance, like the breech loading Sharps rifle that, Tom Selleck made famous, when he was doing his sniper duties in Australia.
Quickly down under.
No, that was Tom Selleck himself in the 1880s.
Oh.
No, yeah, so that was he was using the Sharps breech loading rifle in that, which is pretty cool. And then on into the Henry repeating rifle, right? And Eric, one thing to note is often those Henry rifles had at least 15 round capacity. Now, isn't that that you could show one of those Henrys to someone, lever action rifle? Hey, do you think it's all right if I can have this? Yeah, well, it's evil high capacity, greater than 10 rounds.
Yeah.
I just
arbitrary number. Well,
I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, I think the best point of that whole video is that the lefts, especially the anti-gun lefts, which that's kind of a misnomer because I think I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say most leftists because that's not true. The anti-gun left, they try to use that excuse that, hey, civilians shouldn't have military grade weapons. And the truth be told is throughout history, we have had exactly what the military had. It is
and better. And he talks about that. Yeah,
absolutely better. It is a recent phenomenon, in recent decades that has been pushed onto our society, and a lot of people believe that, oh no, military weapons are much more deadly and whatnot than civilian. That's just not true. I mean, between the AR that I have, my AR pistol behind me, versus a short-barreled full auto rifle that the military or law enforcement may have. Yeah, it can run full auto, but you know what? It's not smart to run full auto for that particular purpose.
Yeah.
So essentially, you're going to be
Eric,
running semi-auto, and we're essentially equal at that point.
Hey, Eric, and speaking of, I can't remember who he had on, but of course, most people are familiar with Jocko Willink, who was, of course, the commander of, Eric, am I saying that right? Was he a commander?
Yes, yes.
I get the leadership mixed up between the branches. I don't want to come off as being real ignorant about that.
He was a commander, which is the same as a major in the Army.
Okay.
Yep.
So commander of Task Force Bruiser, which J.P. Donnell, one of our guests, was on there and was in Task Force Bruiser, and then of course the well-known Chris Kyle. But Jocko had someone on his show, and it was one of the guys from Task Force Bruiser, and he said, "Hey, so and so, how many times did you use full auto in theater over there?" And that dude goes, 0.
Yep.
And then Jocko said the same thing, 0. Just find it interesting. Everybody thinks that the SEALs and all those snake eaters are running around full auto. You just don't need it. It's not the type of weapon that you need to be scattering rounds with.
Well, Aaron, if I can be very clear, however, we need to make sure that we distinguish between a regular rifleman and a machine gun position.
Oh,
just in
yeah,
case,
of
yeah. I
course.
know. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Oh,
in
yeah.
case,
Sorry.
In case there's anybody out there, there's most assuredly that the machine gun position or the machine gunner, yeah, they're running full auto for sure. But
Bro,
that's a
I'm
particular
certainly
purpose.
talking about a personal weapon.
Absolutely. I just wanted to make sure in case somebody want to come out there and beat up on us about it.
Yeah. Well, Eric, I just wanted to. These midterm elections are coming up. It's important that, again, we consider our Second Amendment rights, because this election, if the Democrats gain enough seats in the Senate, they will pass that assault weapons ban. Now, I'm not going to get into what that assault weapons ban really means, but it's still not good, okay?
Yeah. And Aaron, if I can add one comment to that, and I'll tell you something else that is important for our Second Amendment rights, and that's spendable capital, right? And
Yes.
so again, we are, again, if Democrats maintain control of the Senate and the House, or actually either body, we're still looking at continual problems economically. Now, granted, ultimately a lot of the woes of our current economy was birthed by our energy policies by the president and the executive branch. So, but I mean, at a minimum, if we take over the Senate and the House, maybe something can be done regarding energy policies. So we'll see. Because I mean, that's energy policies will directly affect our economy in the positive. So, I mean, we can start there. Let's talk about our sponsor, Origin. Pete Roberts was told you could not make jiu-jitsu gis in the U.S. Well, Pete and his team have proven the naysayers wrong by producing the best jiu-jitsu gis on the market. I, for one, love my Path gi. It is lightweight, yet strong and super comfortable, with an innovative technical fiber weave that is also IBJJF legal. The Wave logo is legit. It has woven belts that blend between white, blue, purple, brown, and black, hence the name The Path. They also produce jeans, hoodies, handmade leather boots, and Jocko fuel supplements that help us recover from hard workouts, force on force classes, and simply make us feel better and more energized through the day. I just finished a hard workout in my garage gym and rewarded myself with a delicious mint chocolate milk protein shake and coconut milk. Man, it's like dessert. If you're looking for any Origin products, please go to our show notes and click on the affiliate link, or look for the icons in our blog section of our website at evosec.org. It helps us keep this podcast free and keeps the lights on. If you get something out of this show and you feel like helping us out, use EvoSec 10 for 10% off at checkout.
Well, Eric, it's funny. It's kind of bugging me. I thought I might give you an update, and the listeners can join in here. So I'm sure that our audience that are long listeners have heard me talk about my herniated discs in my neck, and the fact that finally, unfortunately, I've started losing strength in my right arm. And that's when I realized something was, kind of going wrong. And went to see a surgeon, and he said that, and I'm still going to get a second opinion. It's just a long road, but he said that I need spinal fusion of 3 discs, and he's saying, but I'm too young to do that because I'm young enough where I would certainly end up having to have other fusions. So we're trying again to take the less aggressive route, which is physical therapy and steroid shots. So the other day I went in to get some steroid shots and a steroid shot. And amazing enough, it did seem to help here in a few days. We'll see how much better it gets. And I'm going to start trying to PT my arm and do some curls with some heavier weight, because that's where I can really see it, is when I'm doing curls. But boy, funny little story. So they bring me in there and they're supposed to sedate me, right? Because it's a little bit nerve-wracking having a needle stuck into not your spinal cord or anything, because that's not what they're doing, but sticking it into your spine and your discs. So they say they're going to sedate me, and they put an IV in, and then they inject some medicine that's supposed to sedate me. Within 15 seconds, that doctor is touching on my neck. I think he's just like marking where like a pin or something, where he's gonna put the needle in. Then all of a sudden, crack. Not real loud like that, but he pushed it into my vertebrae to test where my vertebrae was, then pulled it back out a little bit, and then angled it into my disc. And I was like, hey, the sedation isn't working. No, that's not going to stop you from feeling it. It's just going to take the edge off. So it's not taking the edge off. You just put the medicine in.
Yeah.
So, and then it sedated me on the way home. I fell asleep in the car. It's like, what do they mean when they're going to sedate you and they're going to put the needle in, right after they put the sedation meds in? It's like, what the heck, man?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
It kind of seemed, to be frank, it seemed like what do they call? Basically, just a cattle call. They had so many people in and out of there getting pain treatments. I think they were just in a hurry.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was funny. But
it is making you feel better.
Yeah, it's my arms aren't going numb as much. So audience, so a lot of the symptoms that I'm having, if I move my neck, so here's my neck kind of upright. If I move my neck that much and kind of cock it back and forth like that, it's not really doing it. Now it slightly is. I can feel it in this finger. The nerves will get pinched. It's external, I think is what they call it, stenosis. It's not internal, and it's not a risk of paralyzation, but it's damaged my nerves enough to where my body is trying to grow nerves around the primary nerves to get to my, for instance, the discs that I'm having problems with affect the tricep, the bicep, and the deltoids. And I mean, I literally have about a quarter of the strength in my most dexterous, I don't know what word that would be, but my right arm. Yeah. I have a quarter of the strength in this arm as I do in my left hand. So that's what kind of got a little scary. And frankly, it's affected my shooting a bit. It's affected my shooting a bit, and it's affected my guitar playing. I can really tell it when I'm picking real accurate lines. You know, Eric, just think about some Paul Gilbert kind of licks. I sometimes I can't do it right, and I have to adjust what muscles I'm using because I can't pick accurately at different speeds without changing the freaking muscles. So,
well, you know, Aaron, I don't have near what you have in your neck, but I've had about every I don't know 6 months or so I'll get kind of a pinched nerve in my neck. I've not had an MRI of it, but it's enough where it's a little bit painful at times, and I'll feel a little bit of tingling sometimes, but it's minor. But I think I may have mentioned this. It's like a month and a half ago, I rolled hard on the mats, and I had a little bit of a tweak to my back for a few days, and I did the same thing this last week, rolling hard on the jiu-jitsu mats, and I had another little tweak. So yeah, it's a little bit aggravating, but you know, it's not going to stop me from training right now. It's just not. I'll just work through it and train smart.
The fact is that people our age and younger have these pinched nerves, herniated disc, etc. It's extremely common.
Yep.
It's not like it's a big deal.
Yeah, I think everybody we know around our age or older is dealing with this stuff.
Yeah, it's just that mine has progressed enough to where it needs to be fixed, or I'm not going to be able to do the things that I want to do as well as I want to do them.
Yep.
Right. So, I mean, I went to the range yesterday, shot pretty well, but I can tell that my performance has dropped a little bit in the last couple months. And again, the guitar.
I don't believe that.
Well, again, it's cool. I'm still shooting fairly well. But Eric, along after that, you know, I just wanted to give you an update on and tell you that goofy story. But so this weekend, you did something that I was jealous this last, you know, so we're here Sunday. So today and yesterday, you took a freaking awesome class. And that was Scott Jedlinski's Red Dot instructor course, correct?
Yes, the Modern Samurai Project Red Dot. And I've got the certificate here. It's the Red Dot Pistol Fundamentals and Performance Instructor Courses, the official name here on my cert. Now I'm going to reprint this on some better paper, but just got that from Bev, which want to say thank you to Beverly.
Bev is fun, and whenever we've had Scott on the show and even other things, I'm friends with Bev on social media. She's just sweet as can be. Well, Eric, was she there?
No, she wasn't. But I just wanted to say a shout out to her because she's the beef behind the project. You know, she's the CEO, and she definitely deserves credit for what she does. You know, Scott and I were talking about that. It's like I'm just going to say it on the air. There's a lot of people think Beverly's admin. She's not admin. She does much more.
Well, Eric, and here's another awesome thing about Bev. She and I share one band that we love, and that's Mr. Big.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, she loves Mr. Big. So that
That's
we
really
we had a
cool.
little internet conversation about that. But so Eric, if you were gonna say something, what were you gonna say, bro? Or
Oh no, man.
okay,
Just go ahead.
so real quick. So when you go to a class like that, of course, we all want to be tuned up before we do something like that because we want to perform our best. We want to get the best, the most out of the class, and being tuned up helps you do that. So you were talking about some stuff that you were doing to get tightened up before that. Before we go into a little bit about the class, won't you tell the audience about what you had been working on and you feel how successful that was?
Well, I think the main thing that really helped me in the recent weeks, just with my shooting performance, number one is we all know we're supposed to try to push to failure, and I had been doing that for a while, and then I just, Aaron, I'll ask you. Um, it's easy to get a little bit lackadaisical sometimes with dry fire. So,
Oh yeah.
sometimes a little bit lazy. When I mean
Yep.
lazy, I'm not saying, oh, I just don't want to do it, or just kind of when you if you're dry firing purposeful, you should be working hard, and it takes a lot of effort. And to use uh, Annette Evans terminology,
I was going to bring her up.
if
Yeah.
you aren't every now and then throwing the gun across the room, then you're not training hard enough in your dry practice. But yeah, Aaron. So one of the other things is that
So Eric, just to make sure, make sure you're doing your dry fire either over your bed or some carpet or something.
yeah,
We don't need any Aaron Cowan, red dot testing on concrete.
yeah, and I might add, you should make sure that if for some reason you got a negligent round, that whatever, that there is some form of a backstop.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah, and you can see some of my dry fire targets right there. That is on a brick wall.
excellent.
So
Yep. So, but anyway, the other aspect is so yeah. There's been some times in the last few weeks. It's like, man, I'm been trying to work towards obviously a sub-second draw is important. I'm nowhere close to there. And this weekend, I'm just gonna lay it out. When you start getting under a lot of pressure and you're learning a lot, you're drinking from a fire hose. I'm not gonna lie, my performance based on what it's been over the last few weeks on certain tasks definitely degraded. And some of that may be I'm learning some new grip aspects, but also, frankly, just under pressure and bobbling grips and all that. But at the same time, I have to admit the amount that I learned in this class, I just think that it's going to drive me to the next level in my shooting. And I really want to emphasize, and I said this to Scott as we were getting closer to the closing of the class, is that I think there's a lot of folks that probably see some of his man see a lot of his stuff online, and they probably get the impression that it's just a burn it down speed class. But I'll tell you this much: you're going to learn accuracy, and you're also going to work that accuracy under peer pressure. And I really, really appreciated that about that class. Is I mean, he's separated, and if folks know some of his content, separating the accuracy from the speed, but then he says that it's two sides of the same coin. But yeah, I mean, we zeroing even you're zeroing on a 1 inch square at 10 yards, which is tough. really tough, in my opinion. And then you're verifying at 25. So that even zeroing, you're getting kind of exposed to his philosophy on it. And that was the first day. But the second day, like today, we spent a ton of time on accurate shooting. At this point, we went to a slightly larger target, which was a 2-inch square, still at 10 yards. But the whole class went down. Everybody shot their groups, and Scott started by coaching everybody on what they were doing. And we just went through a progression. I won't go into much detail right now because I really want to do an AAR with Scott, which we're going to do.
Yeah.
But just the accuracy piece, to me, I was impressed with. And he helped remind me of some things I might have known in the past I discarded, but also gave me some new principles on just pure, accurate shooting on demand. So, yeah, I'm really excited about that piece too. But we certainly burn it down too in this class. And there's so much I'm gonna have to really spend time like I normally do after a class, decompressing. And for the first time, I'm kind of laughing at myself. Aaron, you might laugh at this because I'm normally used to my regular notebook that I'm always carrying around. But just in the scope of this class, it was hard for me to do that. So I ended up getting my phone out and putting little notes in there. And so I got a lot of notes in my phone, and I got a lot of stuff in my brain that I got to put down on paper. But yeah, nonetheless, the truth be told, I plan on ordering some of Scott's targets, and every bit of the drills that we did, I'm just going to use them for the time being. And I most assuredly, John, I'm not going to say his last name because I don't have his permission, but John, the host, excellent dude, excellent shooter, great time hanging out with him. And he said that he hosts him once a year. I plan on being in the class next year as well because I definitely wasn't close to the black belt standards. I'd like to get that at some point. So.
Bro, so yeah. I'm going to that next one. I have to. So, Eric, would it be the same course? Okay, cool.
I believe so. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, those good of courses that good, that did not sound correct. Courses that good are worth taking over. And like ECQC, right? ECQC has evolved, but it's essentially the same course, right?
Well, and Aaron, I have to say something cool that Scott came up to me and he said, "Hey, Eric, did you see who's now running the dot now?" And I looked at him, he had a big grin on his face, and nearly at the same time, Craig, he said, and he was proud of it. He said, yeah. He said after my class, you know.
So, well, if you recall, Scott invited Craig because we had Craig on the show. It was, I can't remember if Craig or Scott told the story or both of them, right? But at the time, yeah, Craig's the one that told the story. And he said he had a dot. He had a Hollow Sun dot sitting around, but he didn't have it on a pistol. So I guess Scott let him borrow a pistol. So yeah, and if you notice too, Craig's running P365s now.
Yeah.
Freaking punk. Cheating on us Glock only people, man.
And you know what's going to happen next ECQC now?
What's that?
You're going to take my place of being the first person to go into Evo with the baddest dude in the room.
Why is that?
Because you just said that. No, because you just said that because you're talking shit to Craig.
Oh yeah. Hopefully you didn't hear that. No, but he actually lined out some 365s, which dude, those 365s are hot now. I mean, that's one of the most selling everyday carry pistols out, and dude, they are great. I shot one yesterday, actually.
Cool.
But Craig's got a bore sight solution one, and which is really cool. And that kind of reminds me, bro. I did want to. We'll talk about this after this.
And can I say one very important aspect? I'm sorry if I can.
No.
digress
I
a
want to
second.
go back to. I want to go back to the class before we go further.
So one of the other aspects of, and I know it contrasts, or excuse me, doesn't necessarily contrast with some classes in this sense, but I think with others it most assuredly does. So yeah, you spend some time up close, 3 yards, and 3 yards is as close as you get. But you have a lot of classes that spend that time at that 7 yard, 5 yard area. Maybe push out just a little bit in that type of course. But we spend a ton of time at 25 as well.
Oh, awesome.
And Scott's, pushing the speed, but he gradiates everything too, and here's another thing. And our most respected instructors do the same thing, but Scott demos every freaking drill. If we're doing a drill, Scott's demoing it. And executing awesome, of course, in excellence. And I really respect that. Mm-hmm.
Bro, is he running that Gucci'd up PDP with
Yep.
like the gray digi camo and stuff?
Aaron, now that I think of it, I think you're right on the camo. I didn't look really, really close at his pistol, but I think you're right.
It was moving too fast, I bet.
Yes, something like that for certain. I have to look back at some of the video or pictures I shot of him, but it was definitely one of his Gucci'd up PDPs for certain. Yeah, it was a good time.
So you were saying though that he was really kind of pushing you guys out at 25 yards.
Oh yeah,
and demoing it all.
Oh yeah, because his black belt standards is it's under a second and a half at 25, and my when we were doing the black belt standards, I didn't make them, and none of us did. Frankly, there was one guy really good, was real close. There was a couple of guys that were close.
Bro, I don't even think Scott gets them every time.
He said he's 95% on his own standards.
Well, which is awesome. Yeah. But you know what? There's some dang good. That says there's some good standards if the guy that wrote them doesn't make it every time.
Well, Aaron, he mentioned something I thought was interesting, but he also gave some of the reasoning behind it. But he said that he's had multiple USPSA grandmasters come to his classes and not make it.
Interesting.
And it sounded to me like the majority of them hadn't. But he made the point, and he wasn't making an excuse for him. He was given some kind of some input of why possibly, and it was essentially that, hey, those guys came to learn how to teach the system and to learn how to to teach the system better. That their cup was full, meaning that they weren't, because Scott also, there's a lot of it. He gives some secrets on how to get to not necessarily the specific standards, but how, and some of it is. But he gives all kinds of to use his nickname Jedi tricks to his getting to those standards.
Does he call them Jedi tricks?
No.
Okay.
I forget what
you just threw that in
just some of his secrets. Yeah. So man, it was phenomenal, man, and some of the most fun was when we did quite a bit on steel this afternoon, which was just a good fun. We did some peer races, and man, I just think I told Scott as I walked by him is that I just love being put under some form of pressure in any class, and man, he did a great job of, you're racing each other, and And I didn't make it as far as I'd like to in those, but I'll improve based on what I learned. But yeah, when you're under that peer pressure, as we always talk about on this show, is how do you get better? You just do harder things, or you put yourself under pressure as often as you can. And it was definitely that. It obviously it's not the same kind of pressure you feel in an ECQC or a complete combatant, but it's a different pressure. It's a shooting pressure. I definitely felt it. I definitely, especially when we're doing individual times, you bringing the timer, getting closer. I mean, we had some of that during the range master class, but I would say there was a lot more pressure than that, though. In this class,
there's more pressure in this class than the Tom Gibbons. Yeah.
In those drills, I mean, there's another aspect of Tom's classes that has vast amounts of pressure too.
I think I would rather have Scott Jedlinski over my shoulder than Tom Gibbons.
Yeah, there's some truth to that. But yeah, man, it was phenomenal.
I don't think Scott yells at you.
Yeah, you mess up something safety wise, Scott will get in your ass.
Oh yeah, well, rightly so. But
yeah, and there's a few times, some people asked some questions that got him a little bucked up, because he said he was passionate about it, but Scott's a super kind guy. I mean, just technical in his instruction, a master at diagnosing problems and how to fix them. Yeah, man, I'm in it, man.
So so you witnessed, right, that the reason why he's one of the most sought after red dot instructors in the country. It's arguable he may be the most sought after. Now, so I've said that before in other places, and people jumped on me and acted like I was an idiot. But that's, I'm just saying, if bare minimum, when you're teaching, the 3-letter agencies and they find you on YouTube and start employing you, and the guy's got basically a weekend class every weekend and a weekly midweek class, teaching military and law enforcement.
Well, Aaron, I could be wrong with what he was saying. I believe he said he taught over 100 classes last year.
Yep. Yeah, so that's right at 2 classes a week, right? A weekend and a midday. Yeah. I mean, I keep saying midday, midweek.
Yeah, that's some hard hours for certain. But people are getting better from his help. I know I'm going to, and I told him, I was like, and I don't know if I said this earlier or not, but I'm going to order some of his targets, and I've once I get all these drills squared away, man, that's what I'm going to work for a while, for certain.
Oh, I'm looking forward to hearing about it. I'm looking forward to taking that class with you next year.
Yeah, man, you definitely have to come out for it.
Oh, it'll be a blast. Well, so you highly endorse that class. It sounds like you had a lot of fun. And, bro, I don't want to keep you on here too much longer because you literally pulled in the driveway from that class and we started this recording. Right? I mean, Not literally, but almost literally. You just walked.
Yeah, I essentially got in the shower, and hugged my pug and my other dog. She's still growing on me, and my wife, and sit down for a split second and came up here, man. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped about. Even though this isn't a black belt patch, I'm most assuredly proud of this alumni patch here. Pretty Rock badass.
That is sweet.
I dig the samurai, and if you can, I don't know if you can see this, Aaron.
It's a little grainy because of how our system's recording, and I'm sure I'll be able to see it perfect when we render the video.
But what's cool is if anybody's seen this, the right eye of the samurai is a red dot. It's pretty legit.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and to me, it also has, and I don't know if Scott intended this or not, is it kind of has a Terminator kind of look to it as well, but it's guaranteed it's because it's for the red dot. And I will tell this little story too, real quick, and we can start to sign off. Is Aaron? I don't know if have you noticed Scott's targets in that they're somewhat of a lighter tan. Maybe they're craft color, maybe a little bit lighter than craft. And then the lines for his target are black. Man, for us old dudes, at distance, man, those lines aren't very defined.
Yeah.
Right? Especially try to zero on that 10-inch square, or even the letters are slightly subdued. And I was driving home yesterday evening, and I was like, one of the things I noticed is that if I was getting drawn into the dot, I could not see those targets. But boy, if I was trying to see that line, I could see the line, and it made sure that I was focused on a target. And I asked him right in front of the whole class. I didn't mean to put him on the spot at all. It just occurred. I was like, I want to ask him. And I said, did you intend that with both the color scheme and the thinner lines, although they're defined? Because I told him, I said, I drove home thinking that. It's like, man, he must have planned that. And he did kind of look at me like, no, that's just kind of the way that target. And he's like, but I'm going to steal that. But seriously, I don't know if anybody else had noticed that, but maybe that's a side benefit of that target. And I call it a benefit. It forced me to focus on that target. So that's another reason I'm going to order up some of his targets, because of that, having to focus on a target to see those lines.
Cool.
So yeah, well, cool, man.
Man, I was shooting yesterday with some friends, and I was in a real pissy mood because you were there shooting that class, and I was just at the range.
Well, Aaron, if it means
I'm kidding.
But if it means anything to you, there were multiple times that I was wishing that you were here for that class, man. So
rock on.
It was a blast. Yeah, I'm also glad to be chilling now, but it was a phenomenal time. So,
man, I want to talk about one other thing real quick, but I was going to say, our audience members that I guarantee our target audience and the audience that listens to our show, I guarantee you most get training fairly often. It's just the nature of our content and the people that listen to us. But those of you that have not gotten any training or started on the training path, you need to start taking some of these classes from these instructors that we have on, because it's the most fun you're going to have all year long.
Yeah.
It's a blast. Hey, even getting your butt kicked at a force-on-force class is a blast. So, yeah, everybody start looking up some of these instructors that we've had on. We've taken classes from a lot of them, and we'll take classes from a lot of them whenever we can. But Eric, I did want to say this. So remember, I think it was a couple of episodes ago that I was able to snag a brand new Gen 3 Glock 19 from my father-in-law that literally had not a single shot. It still hasn't had a shot through it yet, because I took it apart and sent the frame off to. We'll talk about this when I start pulling it in, because I am dang excited about this.
Me too.
I talked about on a previous episode that I was going to have a really good company, a company we really respect, do a custom job on it. But when I really started talking to them, they honestly weren't going to be able to do what I really wanted. And so I went to what was my dream custom pistol, and I started that process. I sent the frame off, I think 2-3 days ago, and man, it's going to be on. It's going to be the ultimate carry Glock 19 I could ever have. So
awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I know some of the behind the scenes of the company and whatnot. I'm looking forward to it.
And I'm gonna have this gentleman on to talk about the process, because he jumped on it and worked really hard to help me to place an order that day. So
awesome.
Great customer service, and people will know exactly who I'm talking about. They can probably guess who it is, but we'll have him on after I get my pistol completed. So
sweet. Sounds awesome, man. I'm looking forward to it. Well, man, I'm glad we did this. You know, I was concerned, you know, hey, maybe our schedules wouldn't work out in the tightness of me getting home and whatnot. So I'm glad it worked out.
Oh yeah, people have to know that we love talking to the amazing subject matter experts and you know, people that we really look up to and learn from, our mentors, and people that, you know, lots of people we just can't believe we get to talk to, you know, really cool people like, and surprises like Tim Alexander, right?
Yeah.
But people got to know we enjoy the heck out of doing these shows where it's just you and I chatting about some things that are on our minds. And hopefully the audience really digs them too. And I think they do because of our downloads on them. So
absolutely.
Well, bro, have a good evening. I'm going to go to dinner with my family, and you go hang out with your dogs and your wife and decompress. And I can't wait till we can talk about that class even some more. So
yeah. With Scott, we're going to have him.
Oh
on
yeah, that's
and
right.
Talk in detail for certain. All right, brother. Man, you have a good evening.
You too, brother. Take it easy.
Bye.